Alright, let's talk about Japan. Not the Japan you know with its bullet trains and cat cafes. We're diving into a different era, a time when Japan was a world unto itself. No, we're going way back to the mid-19th century, the Edo period, ruled by the Tokugawa shogunate. This was a time of samurais, strict social orders, and a country closed off from the rest of the world. The shogun was the big boss, wielding real power, while the emperor was more of a symbolic figurehead, revered but without much political clout. Japan had a policy called sakoku, or national seclusion, keeping the country isolated for over 2 centuries. This policy was meant to protect Japan from foreign influence and maintain internal stability. Most foreigners were forbidden from entering and Japanese folks couldn't leave. This isolation was strictly enforced, with severe penalties for those who tried to defy it. The only contact with the outside world was through a small Dutch trading post in Nagasaki. This limited interaction allowed Japan to control the flow of information and goods. This isolation was to maintain stability and control foreign influence. The Tokugawa shogunate believed that by limiting contact, they could preserve Japanese culture and prevent the chaos seen in other parts of the world. Internally, society was structured rigidly, with the emperor at the top, followed by the shogun and samurai, then farmers, artisans, and merchants. Each class had its own roles and responsibilities, creating a well-defined social order. But cracks were showing. Samurai were becoming bureaucrats, merchants were gaining power, and there was growing curiosity about the West. The rigid social structure was beginning to strain under the weight of these changes. Japan looked stable on the surface, but pressure was building underneath. The country was on the brink of a transformation that would change its course forever. So Japan is minding its own business, maintaining a policy of isolation known as sakoku, which had been in place for over 2 centuries. When suddenly, in 1853, Commodore Matthew C. Perry of the U.S. Navy shows up in Edo Bay with a mission that would change everything. He arrived with heavily armed steamships dubbed the Kurofune or Black Ships, which were a stark contrast to the traditional Japanese vessels. Perry carried a letter from U.S. President Millard Fillmore, demanding Japan open its ports to American trade, a request that was both bold and intimidating. The Japanese officials were flabbergasted, unprepared for such a direct and forceful approach. The shogunate, faced with superior naval technology, was caught between maintaining their long-standing traditions and the threat posed by Perry's cannons. After tense negotiations and much deliberation, the Japanese agreed to Perry's demands, leading to the signing of the Convention of Kanagawa in 1854. This treaty opened 2 ports to American ships and allowed a U.S. consul to reside in Japan, marking the beginning of a new era. It exposed the shogunate's weakness and inability to uphold its sakoku policy, which had kept Japan isolated for so long. Other Western powers quickly followed suit, demanding similar treaties and further eroding Japan's isolation. Japan was no longer isolated. It was now part of the rough international school, forced to navigate the complex waters of global diplomacy and trade. Perry's arrival and the unequal treaties opened a Pandora's box of internal strife in Japan. The shogunate's perceived weakness ignited debate and dissent. Different factions emerged, each with its own idea on how to save Japan. The rallying cry was Sono Joie, revere the emperor, expel the barbarians. Ambitious young samurai from powerful domains like Satsuma and Choshu championed this cause. They argued that power should be restored to the emperor and the foreigners expelled. This period was volatile, with assassinations, clashes, and attacks on foreigners. The shogunate tried to navigate this storm but failed. The economy suffered, and the authority of the shogunate crumbled. The stage was set for a massive nation-altering change. Meet the Meiji men, the guys who hit Japan's reset button. The Meiji Restoration was orchestrated by ambitious, pragmatic leaders, mostly samurai from anti-shogunate domains like Satsuma and Choshu. Emperor Meiji, a teenager when he ascended the throne, became the symbol of the new, modern Japan. Influential advisors like Okubo Toshimichi and Kido Takayoshi were the real strategists behind the scenes. Saigo Takamori, a military leader, played a crucial role in the Boshin War, leading troops with valor. Ito Hirobumi, Japan's first prime minister, drafted the Meiji Constitution, shaping the nation's future. These visionary men built a new nation from the ground up, transforming Japan into a modern state. Extreme Makeover, Japan Edition. Part 1. Tearing Down the Old House. With the shogun stepping down in 1867 and Emperor Meiji restored to power, the real work began. The new leaders dismantled the old feudal system. The domains were abolished and replaced with prefectures controlled by the central government. The daimyo were compensated, but their power was gone. The samurai, the ruling elite, saw their privileges stripped away. Their stipends were converted into government bonds, and the right to wear swords in public was abolished in 1876. This led to several rebellions, the most significant being the Satsuma Rebellion in 1877. The rebellion was crushed, signaling the end of the samurai order. The Meiji state triumphed and Japan was moving forward. There was no turning back. Extreme Makeover Japan Edition, Part 2, Building a Shiny New Future, with blueprints borrowed from the West. The Meiji government embarked on a comprehensive program of modernization, aiming to transform Japan into a formidable global power. The new slogan was Fukoku Kyohei, enrich the country, strengthen the army. This slogan encapsulated the dual goals of economic prosperity and military might. Missions like the Iwakura mission sent officials to the US and Europe to learn about industry, government, and military technology. These missions were crucial in gathering knowledge and expertise from the West. Industrialization became a top priority. Factories sprang up across the nation, signaling the dawn of Japan's industrial revolution. The government built railways, telegraph lines, shipyards, mines, and factories. These infrastructure projects were essential in connecting the country and boosting economic growth. Foreign experts were hired to kickstart Japan's industrial revolution. These experts brought with them invaluable knowledge and skills that were instrumental in modernizing Japan. New industries like textiles boomed, providing export revenue. The textile industry in particular became a cornerstone of Japan's early industrial economy. The zaibatsu, large family-controlled conglomerates, emerged. These powerful business entities played a significant role in Japan's economic development. A national education system was established in 1872. This system aimed to create a literate and skilled workforce capable of supporting the nation's modernization efforts. Western fashion and culture were adopted, blending with traditional Japanese values. This cultural fusion was evident in the clothing, architecture, and daily life of the Japanese people. By the late 19th century, Japan was undergoing a profound transformation. The nation had successfully integrated Western innovations while maintaining its unique cultural identity. The Meiji Restoration from 1868 to 1912 was an astonishing success. Japan transformed from a reclusive feudal society into a modern nation-state. They revised unequal treaties and gained international recognition. Japan defeated China in the First Sino-Japanese War and Russia in the Russo-Japanese War. Japan joined the club of imperial powers, gaining colonies like Taiwan and Korea. However, modernization came at the expense of democratic development and individual liberties. Power remained concentrated in the hands of a small elite. Nationalistic and militaristic ideologies took root. The Meiji Restoration demonstrated that a non-Western nation could adopt Western technology and institutions. It's a story of ambition, rapid change, and national transformation with a complex legacy.